Did Shakespeare really coin all the words and expressions attributed to him? A search on Google will turn up plenty of web pages saying he did, but is the information reliable? And how can we find out? Until just a few years ago, there really was no way to check. While Shakespeare and a few other writers of that period are still remembered and read, most of them had been forgotten. Their works, if they survived at all, sat on library shelves, largely unopened, for centuries. But all of that's changed. There's now a searchable open access database of some 60,000 books from the early modern period, and we can find out for ourselves whether the attributions to Shakespeare are correct. Here's a page from a website by someone who calls himself the Pathology Guy. It's a fairly short list as these things go. Some sources attribute well over 1,000 words and phrases to Shakespeare. Let's take the first 3 on the list and see what we come up with. Here's the database. Early English Books Online Text Creation Partnership. If you want to know about how the database was created, click here. I just want to go straight to the database itself and see what I can find out. I'll choose proximity search. You'll see why later on. And I'll search for the first item, all our yesterdays, an expression used by Macbeth. And yes, we just get one result, and it's Shakespeare. That seems clear enough, but I'd like to be thorough here. Let's see if those 3 words come up close to each other anywhere else, and we can use some wildcard asterisks just to cover any early modern spellings that might crop up. Okay, we get 32 results. Let's sort them so that the earliest one comes at the top. The first one, 1506, well that's really early. It doesn't look at all promising. What about this second one? All our time past, even until yesterday, is perished. That's kind of close to what Macbeth says. All our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. And that was in 1576. Okay. And then the next one, 1594, no, that doesn't seem promising. The 1599 text is rather similar to the 1576 one. And the circa 1602 text isn't really relevant, and then that's it. The other results all post-date Macbeth. So there's no record of all our yesterdays, in print at least, prior to the composition of Macbeth, which is generally reckoned to have been around 1606. Shakespeare may perhaps have come across the expression, all our time past, even until yesterday has perished, or something like it, but all our yesterdays, as such, is his own. What about the next one? We say glitters, but in Shakespeare's day they used both glitters and glisters, and the exact words in The Merchant of Venice are, all that glisters is not gold. This is where the proximity search comes in handy. Let's look for all near glister near gold. Look at this one, from 1563, before Shakespeare was born. All is not gold that glistereth. Goodness. And here's another one, from 1580. You thought all that did glister was gold. And here it is, 1587, the worthiness of Wales. All that shines and glisters is not gold. Yeah, I think that's pretty conclusive. All that glisters is not gold isn't really an original expression by Shakespeare. And the third one. This one was a bit more difficult. I tried a few different combinations, but this is the one that came up with the goods. All near well, near end, with wildcards. I got over 1,000 results, which is more than the system can handle, so I limited the search to just part of the database. I had to go through quite a few of the results before I found it, but there it was. All is well that ends well. Not Shakespeare at all, but a collection of proverbs by John Heywood in a work published years before Shakespeare was born. So there you have it. Don't get me wrong, I love Shakespeare, but from the 18th century right through to the 20th, he was regularly credited with having coined words and expressions that we now know existed, in some cases, before he was even born. The dictionaries and websites and so on will no doubt catch up eventually, but in the meantime, here's a little window of opportunity for anyone wanting to do a bit of basic research on their own. Take one of the words or expressions credited to Shakespeare and see if you can find an earlier occurrence in the early English Books Online database. It isn't always easy. The database can't sort the results if there are more than 1,000. And when I searched for admirable, for example, I got over 10,000 results. But I whittled it down by searching through just half of the database, and I got it down to under 1,000 by adding proximity to God. I found admirable in a text published in 1579, well before Shakespeare started writing. That may not be the earliest occurrence, but it makes it clear that the word admirable was not, as has been claimed, coined by Shakespeare. Does it matter? Well, yes and no. I'm sure we can appreciate his plays well enough without even thinking about how much of the language was actually created by the author. But from another perspective, our understanding of Shakespeare is changing all the time, and this is part of that shift in perceptions. We know that authorship wasn't seen in quite the same way 400 years ago as it is today, that collaborations and borrowings were much more a part of the writing process then than now. Copyright, as we know it, didn't exist. And this is just one more piece of the puzzle that's finally falling into place. To my mind, at least, recognising that Shakespeare, for all his greatness, was more fully integrated into the literature, the culture of his age than we had imagined, doesn't diminish him in any way. It just gives us a better understanding of him and the context in which his works were written. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe, get notifications, and if you want and are able to give practical support, join as a channel member.